Hello and welcome to Let's Talk Sports. I am Ralph Labella.
And I'm Ron Sen. First, a shout out to the Melrose Little League 11-year-olds who made it to the state championship down in Braintree. Terrific effort by a great group of kids, and you hope that they'll remember that the rest of their lives and carry some of that forward as they play ball into high school.
Yeah, we were talking a little earlier about a lot of the kids. You know, I had a group years ago that went to the States 3 years in a row, 13, 14, and 15s. And the two best pitchers went to BC High. One kid went to St. John's, the catcher, and we lost another player. But they still have real good teams. But if they had all the players that left, I mean, they would have been state champs, or they would have been battling for the state title. That's what happens a lot.
I remember we were playing Stoneham 1,000 years ago in high school, and the coach, who had been a AAA player in the Giants system, was having fielding practice. So he was standing just above home plate, and he had his players lined up against the backstop, and he was hitting rockets at them. So if you lived, you could field. And Stoneham always had a really good team. They won the state championship, and a lot of good players. Billy Walzak was a heck of a player, and just really a different way to look at the game. The All-Star game was held recently, which it's tough to stay up to see the whole game nowadays. And the game was a microcosm of the sport as a whole, with tremendous amount of home runs. I think there were 10 home runs hit in the game. I went to bed, it was 5-3 in the ninth. I said, this game should be over. And then I hear it's 8-6 the next inning.
I turned it off after Judge hit his homer in the second inning. You know, to me, it's really boring.
Yeah, for the most part, the All-Star games have really gone down. The Pro Bowl has never been fun to watch.
No.
I don't really watch the hockey All-Star game. And the NBA has gotten to be a total joke, where players don't play any defense at all. It's like an exhibition.
Well, actually, the best ball is the baseball All-Star game.
Right.
When you talk about, I mean, the pitchers are trying, the batters are trying to hit, so at least they're all trying, but forget the other sports.
Right. So I don't know any way that you could really make it better. I think they tried with the winners getting the home field advantage in the World Series.
Yeah.
But, you know, and they have some fan voting, get in the last player, and, you know, it's really hard to make it great under the circumstance. Now, this weekend, the British Open had some excitement, and Tiger Woods made his first appearance in a major, I think in contention in 7 years. And he was leading by a stroke at the turn on Sunday, but it wasn't there for him. And you know, there were really a lot of good golfers, and boy, that was a tough course.
You know, and it's funny, right? I mean, you look at different nationalities. You know, I'm Italian, and Italian won, but I was rooting so hard for American. I was so bold that Spieth blew it. You know, I think Spieth, I think it gets in his head. He's so good as a golfer, and then when he's in a tough situation, he won the British Open last year, but he's blown a lot of tournaments. He's right there a lot of times.
It was funny. Maybe it was my TV, but it looked like he was going gray. And I don't know if it's 24 years old and the
pressure. He's got the wiffle now.
Yeah, I know. But the pressure of standing over a 4-foot putt for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And what happened to Dustin Johnson, too? You know, he wasn't in it. I don't even know if he made the cut.
Well, I was surprised of some of the players who were listed as American who had kind of odd names.
But it was. But at one time, the board, out of 8 players, 7 Americans were on it.
Well, the Italian one was really steady. I mean, he just...
Well, he won his first tournament in the U.S. about a month ago.
Right. Well, he stays out of trouble, which is, that golf course, I don't know. I mean, Tiger was afraid to use the driver. Now, on the last hole, he pulled out the driver going for a birdie, and somebody, he's just in his backswing, and somebody yelled, which I don't know if they're trying to disturb him or they just don't understand about any golf etiquette.
Yeah. But it was a good tournament, but I was really disappointed. You know, I thought an American would win it, especially you have 7 out of the top 8 going into the final round.
Well, it's funny, if you saw a tournament on an American course that was all brown and burned up, you'd say, like, wow, what are they doing there?
I mean, if he hit a good drive, it just rolled forever.
Right. I know people are talking about 380-yard drives and so forth, and there were multiple par fours that were over 500 yards. I mean, tough course.
But you know what it is? Like, I'm not like, I like Tiger. I like when he's in a tournament, but he's not my number one golfer. Mickelson's my number one. Spieth's my number two. When he's probably my number three, Tiger. And I get really, Mickelson was 1 under. He did okay. But, I'm trying to be a big fan of Spieth, but he just keeps.
Well, I like to see people hit great shots and terrible shots. So, because when they hit terrible shots, you say like, wow, I've done that. I could hit the ball 10 yards in the rough.
But it's funny, I was watching Tiger, right, and he was putting for par. He was 6 under, and he just slipped the cup, so he went to 5 under. And he was really disappointed, but he had to be happy when he hit that drive that was going in that little, in the water there. It goes the whole length. It's maybe about 10 feet wide. It hit right at the edge of it. Instead of going in, it just kicked out. So instead of losing 2 strokes there, I think he got par in that. So he had to feel good about that.
Well, we'll talk some baseball. Aside from the All-Star game, the Red Sox are probably the least respected 5-game up, almost 700 baseball team, because people rightfully are saying, they just beat the heck out of the bad teams, and we don't know how they're going to do against the good teams.
So it's funny. I tell you, my friend there, my 93-year-old friend in work, he's a huge baseball fan. I said, Andy, don't worry about it. I says, I love the Yankees, but I can look at both teams. I've watched them both play a lot. And the Red Sox, this is a month ago, the Red Sox are going to win by at least 5 games, probably between 5 and 7. In that area they'll win. They may go up by 9 on the Yankees, and then they may come back down a little because they have a big lead. But I say it's between 5 and 7 games, and it's going to be there. I mean, I look at both teams, and where the Red Sox have the advantage, and they're always going to have the advantage.
Well, I watched the games. The other night, the Red Sox won a 1-0 game that lasted about 3.5 hours. You say, how is that possible? And there isn't. I mean, most of the games aren't that exciting. Yesterday's game wasn't exciting. The Red Sox won 9-1, but wasn't really a good baseball game.
Well, you look at the pitches in that game. You knew that the Red Sox were going to win, but
right. Sale, I do not understand how a guy can be 6'6" and 180 and throw with the force that he has.
Well, no, what it is, it's the whip that he's got with his arm. He's got the long arm. I mean,
I know.
they throw. You worry about him hurting his elbow.
Absolutely.
But he's up to 99 miles an hour now. He threw 100 miles an hour the other day. I mean, he really wants it. He's got an 11-4 record. There are other pitchers. If Severino keeps pitching well, I think Severino's starting to get a little tired. He's pitching tonight.
Severino is another terrific pitcher. To me, reminds me of Pedro Martinez. That's kind of stuff that he has. But, and if the Red Sox face the Yankees down the line, Sale against Severino would be a great ball game.
Yeah, but I didn't know. I asked someone in work to look it up. I said, I guarantee you the Yankees have probably struck out 100 times more than the Red Sox this season. I didn't look it up, but then I saw one thing yesterday, that the Red Sox have the best percentage on strikeouts, the lowest percentage of strikeouts in baseball. Because I said, the 2 keys for the Red Sox and Yankees, Red Sox have better starting pitching, and they make contact where the Yankees don't. The Yankees have a lot of guys that strike out. When you have Betts, Martinez, Benintendi, and even Moreland, and this guy they picked up is a Pierce.
Yeah.
Pierce. They make contact all the time.
Yeah, I was sort of reviewing what the team's done in July, and I was shocked. Now, small sample size, but their leading hitter in July has been, of all people, Swihart, hitting .444 on these little dribblers that he gets through the infield.
Yeah, but how many at-bats is
18. And the second was Benintendi at .412. Pierce was third at .394. Betts was .391. Bogart's .310. Even Bradley's hitting the ball a little bit. He's up to .265 in July. He hit some balls pretty hard in Detroit, hit into some bad luck, but he's coming around a little bit. But I think the Red Sox, 2 areas that they have to worry about is price is a big problem right now, and in the bullpen they got a lot of guys who are shaky. Kelly's really struggling right now.
Struggling now.
And Barnes, I don't really trust him. And then you get down to Thornburg's coming off of injury. Brazier's looked pretty good, but he's not proven. So
Well, you know they're going to get a relief pitcher.
Well, you know they're going to try anyway, but they don't have that much to trade.
Yeah, but you know the history of history, for a Red Sox fan, you have to worry about history with these players. You got to worry about that Betts and Bogarts don't hit in the playoffs. They got a history of that. You got to worry about Price in the playoffs.
Well, the whole team didn't hit in the playoffs.
And you got to worry about Sale in the playoffs. And what you got to worry about is their tired arms. If they get tired just a little, that's huge. And Sale, I looked at yesterday before he started. He threw 128 innings before yesterday's game. Struck out 188 batters. Threw 6 innings, so that's 134. Struck out 9, that's 197 batters he struck out. You know, and so the innings wise, you got to watch him. Don't let him get over 200.
Well, they used to teach pitch to contact. Now they teach swing and miss pitching, and certainly you're right. The Red Sox haven't had a good track record in the playoffs. The other thing is their infield defense is pretty shaky. Nunez isn't good at second, and
Holt is better than him at second.
and Devers is real shaky at third.
Well, with his arm, God, even his arm.
Yeah, you're.
He threw one in the bounce, and Pierce made a great play, and then he threw one to the right of Pierce that he had to catch.
Yeah, so,
I would worry about him in a key situation.
And his swing has gotten really long right now.
But know what I read today, though, Ron, is that Bradley said he's been working with Martinez. Martinez came up to him and says, listen, you know, I see a couple of things. Do you want me to work with you? Martinez is a great guy.
Yeah.
I mean, not only is he a great hitter, great person, and he went right up to him, and Bradley was really impressed with what he worked with him on. And since then, he's been hitting the ball.
Well,
I mean, I don't know if he'll keep going, but the guy you got to watch out for is Bogarts. When he gets a little tired, that's when he goes into a slump. But Bradley also has a history of when he gets going, he gets hot. So if he can stay hot for a month, you know, that's going to be huge for the Red Sox.
Bradley, you know, if you watch closely, you'll see that against guys that are real hard throwers, 95 and above, he can't get to anything upstairs. So, which, you know, plenty of guys in Major League Baseball can't do that, so it's not surprising. You see the relief pitchers all come in throwing 97, 98 up high. The Red Sox had a few injuries. Vasquez, you know, I always worried because Vasquez, as far as I was concerned, didn't protect his catching hand. A lot of catchers will put it kind of behind their back, and Vasquez.
Did he have it closed?
I don't know, but he always has his hand right here, ready to throw. And then Pedroia, you have to wonder, is he done?
Oh, for this year?
No, I mean, is he done?
You know, the medical field.
Well, just because you want to come back doesn't mean you do come back.
I mean, you got to figure. I mean, nowadays, who has to retire because of a knee injury? Unless it's constant, but.
Well, you got, at least on the Red Sox track record, you got Pedroia now and Stephen Wright, both of whom can't seem to make much progress.
That's a shame what happened to Wright last year, though, when he hurt his.
Yeah, I mean,
it's running.
You're right. It just doesn't make any sense. And we'll see. Pomeranz has every reason to want to be good in the second half. You know, he had a very good year last year, but I think he's better out of the bullpen. So I don't have that much confidence.
Today's going to be a big start for him. When he's hot, though, when he's on, he's on.
Yeah, he is. The Red Sox don't have a lot to trade in the minors because they've already traded everybody, or else the better players, Devers and Benintendi, are in the majors. I guess Bobby Dalbec is one guy they have, and I don't think they have. You know, Groom was probably their top pitcher.
What about the $10 million man?
Oh, Rusney Castillo. Yeah, they'd have to take.
Can't they trade him?
Probably if they took all his salary.
Maybe they'll split it with some team. He'd be a great pickup for some team.
Yeah, I don't know which team.
I mean, he's got to be as good as anybody down in the minors.
Well, Cleveland got Brad Hand, right, from San Diego, so that's, and they've been without Andrew Miller most of the year. Have you heard anything about Jacoby Ellsbury? What's the deal on him?
They're really upset at him. Ellsbury, and I'm finally coming to a point where I always liked Ellsbury. I thought he could help them. He's quick in the bases. I thought last year when he was hitting well, every year he starts off well, then he gets hurt, and forget about it.
I mean, his career OPS with the Yankees is like 715, something like that. So it just hasn't worked out for him.
But they're down on him. They're down on him. He's getting paid the money. I don't know what's going to happen with him.
I mean, he hasn't played a game this year.
And he's been soft his whole career. And
well, he had that one big year, and you always wonder when a guy has one giant year. What was there something else that was going on?
And the shame of it is, too, is if he stayed healthy all these years, he'd be batting, him and Gardner would be 1-2, and Judge would be third. I mean, every time Judge hits a homer, there's no one on base. They got him batting second. And, you know, Gardner doesn't get on base all that much. He gets big hits.
Aside from being a great player, Judge seems like a really good guy,
Oh,
too.
he is. Everybody likes him. He's great for the Yankees, for the fan base.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. We have Lou, the sports guru, here, and he cannot contain himself thinking about Yankee fandom.
Are you out of your mind? They're in first place. They get 70 wins. Come on. Yankees get 63.
Tell me exactly what I said. Do you remember?
Oh, my God. Well, no, because I
I
was
said
too
the
busy-
Red Sox are going to win by 5 to 7 games.
Oh, God, you were like, but they have a history of not hitting, of folding, of the pitching is weak, of this, of that. It's like you were admitting that they were...
Where was I wrong?
You were admitting that they were cheese, but you wanted to point out the holes, make it Swiss. No, I think that it's all things to be concerned about, but I don't think that you can actually say, well, it's going to happen. I think you got to look at the Yankees. They're very similar teams. I mean, do the Yankees have a pitching staff?
See, Lou proves that no one listens to me when I talk.
No, because
you're
I was
way
looking at
off
the
from-
love bubbles.
You're way off from what I was talking about.
No, we know you're a Yankee
Does
lover.
Bogarts have a history of getting tired and going into slump
But
towards
wait a
the end of the year?
minute, wait a minute.
And not hitting in
old
the
is he?
playoffs.
How old is he?
Does Betts have a history of not hitting in the playoffs?
How long
Does
have
Price
they
have
been
a
on
history
that?
of stinking in
Oh,
the
well, Price
playoffs?
stinks. Wait a minute. You can't talk about
We're going to
Price.
switch gears this week.
Price is kicking an old dog. Come on.
Forbes magazine came out with their annual valuations on professional sports franchises, and we hear how the poor, struggling owners, have to suffer at the hands of the players and decreased ratings when the Cowboys are now over, I believe, over $4.5 billion, and your New England Patriots are only valued at $3.7 billion.
They went from 2.8 to 3.7 in a year?
That's just, you know what? The
3.7.
whole thing makes me sick. I
Wow.
got to be honest with you. When you go to the garden and it's $6 for a vitamin water, I mean, they were criticizing when there was the hurricane down in New Orleans and people were charging $10 for bottled water, and everyone was like, "Oh, that's an outrage!" And I'm like, "Yeah, but what makes it any different than what the sports owners do to us?" I mean, okay, so the cap's going to go up based on TV revenue, and so therefore the cap goes up. So we're going to spend to the cap, and then in order to make that money back, we have to screw the patrons, and that's what they do, and that's why I will not go to a professional sports game unless I get the tickets for free. Does it make me a bad guy? Know what I'm saying?
It's tough going to the games because last time I went, you're sitting there, there's a timeout, it seems like every 2
Yeah,
minutes,
and that's
and
the
they're
other
like
thing.
5-minute timeouts.
Yeah.
Well, especially if you happen to go to a playoff game at Foxborough. I mean, I've been lucky that I've been able to sit inside, but you're freezing to death, and the players are freezing to death during those 3-minute timeouts. It's really tough, but people beating the doors down to go.
You notice golf? Did either of you guys see the Open this past week? You notice they do the split screen thing, with you got a commercial going on here, and then you got the golf
Yeah.
telecast going on. I mean, I don't think football would go to that because the difference in money that's generated, number one, and number two, they need 5 minutes of commercials in order to pay, this money generation that keeps going around, and we're the ones that pay for it. Whether we're paying for TV cable, we're paying at the park, we pay for the newspapers or the magazines. Everything's just crazy.
Well, my early observation on the 2018-19 Patriots is there's a tremendous purge of guys named Malcolm. Malcolm Butler's gone. Now they're talking about getting rid of Malcolm Mitchell. Like, how are you going to trade a guy who's...
Is he still hurt?
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe they're just trying to encourage him to get on the field. So, Malcolm Brown, you better look out.
I know it, really. I didn't even realize that. That's a good point.
Belichick doesn't want to hear the word Malcolm
Doesn't
ever
like
again.
Malcolms.
I don't know what he's thinking about Belichick. How do you get rid of both Amendola and Cook? How do you do that?
You know what? I understood the Amendola because he was going to go, I mean, it's the way it works.
got the
You
money.
go for the payday. But I don't understand Cooks. I mean, I thought he was a really great addition to the team. He was
Well, the money, they didn't want to give him that money.
yeah, but though, he was the real deal. I mean, I'll tell you what, nobody around here likes to criticize Brady for anything. His deep ball has not been very
No.
accurate the last 5 years. And I don't care. He won 2 more Super Bowls. He is still among the best in the game, but he doesn't compare to Aaron Rodgers and a few others when it comes
Breeze.
to but
I mean, how
the
many
40-yard
passes did
pass.
he miss to Cooks towards the end of the year?
Yeah.
If he connected in those passes, Cooks.
But Cooks
averaged-
made him look good on a couple early in the year. He ran and got a few of them that were overthrown because he had the speed. But, you know,
Well, if you want to see what sports fans are really like, you can go to Atlanta, because Atlanta is the king of choked towns. So
Don't we know it?
The Falcons have choked. Certainly the Braves have choked many times over the years. The Hawks never did what they were expected to do. So now they sell out a 70,000 seat stadium to watch Major League Soccer, because Atlanta United is in first place. And they think, well, maybe somebody can bring it home.
oh, man.
70,000 people? Wow.
That's amazing. I know it. It's funny that you got me thinking. And then even in hockey, they had the Atlantic Flames. They sent them to Calgary, and they won a cup up there afterwards. Oh, it's funny.
The best soccer I've ever seen is when the U.S. girls won the Olympics. That was the best soccer.
Brandy Chastain, Mia Hamm. That was fun. That was fun because they.
But even after
you know,
Mia Hamm, didn't they win it after
they
Mia
did,
Hamm
yeah.
with that other group?
Did you say any of the World Cup? I mean, France was outstanding. This young kid they have, Mbappe, who scored more goals before age 20 than Ronaldo and Neymar combined. And he's lightning fast, and he can finish.
So last time I watched soccer, it was the New England T-Men. I think Pele was playing for the New York Cosmos. What was that, 1979? That was about it. I just, I think I was pulling lint out of my belly button.
Well, it was interesting. James Harrison was talking a little bit this week, comparing Tomlin and Belichick, and he basically said, you can't compare them. The Patriots are more serious at everything they do, and everything they do is designed to make the individual and the team better.
That's interesting. You know, obviously he played his whole career in Pittsburgh, and I mean, you got to look at it that maybe he's a little mad with Tomlin, but I mean, I don't think that there's any question when it comes to the preparation part. I mean, Belichick's ruthless. Let's face it. All the great coaches were. You know, Vince Lombardi wasn't a nice guy when it came to that. They all love him because of what he made them on the field. But to work for someone who's like that, I can't imagine.
Well, the first 4 games of the year will be particularly interesting. Absent Edelman, no Amendola, and Solder. So Brady's, best pass blocker, presumably, and then his 2 key receivers. Now, obviously, Gronkowski's probably going to have a big role. He never plays in preseason. Hopefully, never. Hopefully, that he still doesn't play
Keep
in
him off the
preseason.
field as much as possible. You got to worry. Okay, so great. He's going to be a slot guy.
But why should Gronkowski and other tight ends have a point? Why should Gronk get 8 to 10 million when Brandon Cooks gets 16 million just because
He's an
it's a
end, I
different
know.
position?
They got to give him 15 million.
Well, there's always been that the disparity in positions. I mean, back in the 80s, like someone like Ronnie Lott was a safety, and safeties weren't making what cornerbacks were making, but yet, it could be argued that a guy like that made the role of cornerback. Whoever was playing with him on the field, no one would go over the middle because he'd take your head off.
Yeah.
He made the cornerbacks so much. Their role was so much easier. But there were a lot of that, though. A lot of safeties did that around the league, and yet the cornerbacks, they made the big money. It's kind of, I mean, the cornerback to safety, it's the same, I think, pay relationship to,
Right. For those of you who don't know about Ronnie Lott, I think it was an NFC championship. He came in and he had a broken finger. So he said, what can I do to play in the game? And the doctor said, look, your finger's really hurt badly. There's no way we can fix it to play in the game. And he said, tell me there's something they can do. He said, we could amputate your finger. He said, do it. So that tells you all you need to know about Ronnie Lott.
yeah, I mean, and then he was back out there and he cut someone else's head off later in the game. But I mean, that was the way the game went back then. But wide receivers to tight end, if you ever, be honest, I mean, Gronk, a tight end like that, when I think about the great tight ends that I've seen over 40 years of watching football, I couldn't name anyone that's better than him.
Well, what bothers me the
I
most,
mean, as good or, but
I mean, what I don't like watching now is receivers going out for a pass. So he's like this, and the defender pins his inside
Yeah.
arm so he can't get two hands on the ball. I mean, it's pass interference. No matter, there's no way it's not pass interference. I don't care how you slice it, and they got to start calling that.
well, if Peyton Manning was throwing the ball, it's pass interference. There's that other probably, I don't know, I don't want to sound like an anti-Patriot angle, but it always does depend on that. It's kind of like LeBron going through the lane. If someone else tries to do that, they don't get away with it. They get called for traveling or for an offensive charge or whatever,
Well, the NFL can't protect everybody. Papa John went down pretty hard.
I know, how do you like that? Anybody can go down, I guess, with that league, but I don't know. The way the league is going, it's kind of funny. We could donate a whole show to that. Is America going to still be watching over the next 10 years?
Well,
Yeah, that's.
I mean, the
don't know,
question is, what's happening in the 10 to 14-year-olds right now? Are they playing much in the way of tackle football, or are they playing flag football, or how is football going to evolve because of the whole head injury problem?
There's a couple of things, though, with that. And also, don't forget, I mean, soccer would have never had the influence in this country. I mean, they tried the North American Soccer League in the 70s, and it didn't take because it didn't have the fan base. But, the United States, we're the melting pot of the world. We have many more immigrants. We have many more nations coming here. And the kids that are in school now, they're not just automatically going to look at what used to be the big four, with, hockey at fourth, obviously, depending where you are. Who knows? I mean, 15 years from now, soccer might be as popular as hockey is.
Well, lacrosse is certainly picking up. We see more and more kids.
Totally.
And if you look back, it looks like a game that would be fun to learn and play. I have a bias against women's lacrosse or girls lacrosse just because you can't block
many
shots.
whistles.
Too many whistles. They got the stick that's a spatula. I just think the game, there are plenty of physical, athletic young women that would be happy to put on gloves and helmets and play the game the way the boys play.
Yeah.
I just think lacrosse, people that are playing lacrosse can't play baseball. That's the thing. How do you know, growing up now, how are you not playing baseball? You take a lacrosse over baseball.
I agree 100% with that. I think
It's too tough of a sport for these people.
Well,
and
you know what
you
it
got
is,
kids
though?
who can run that are pretty good athletes. They're going to go, a lot of them go to lacrosse.
they don't play it out on the streets anymore, When I was a kid, I mean, it was, you either went down, if you couldn't get a park, I mean, there were parks everywhere. Even if there wasn't, you went behind the hospital and you found there was an open, and you played from the corner out and you made a base path. Kids aren't doing it anymore, and they're not playing stickball on the streets, wiffle ball. I mean, you remember back in the 70s, every kind of a flat brick building had a block with an X in the middle. And you knew, okay, the kids play stickball down here.
And same thing with soccer. Soccer's an easy sport to play.
Yeah.
Volleyball is another thing. Volleyball's an easier sport to play than basketball. Basketball takes a lot more time to become good at it than volleyball.
Well, the real game of basketball, if you really want to play it the right way offensively and defensively, and you want to learn the nuances of the 5 positions, it's much different than playing half court, one-on-one.
But by far, football is way ahead of every other sport.
Yeah.
Even basketball. The time you have to put into football and the type of athlete you have to be to play football, even high school football.
But kids want to play it.
That's
though.
another world compared to every other sport.
But kids still want to play it, though. I think baseball, right now, baseball is probably, I'd like to see a 10-year study where it is from this point to that point, because I think less kids want to play it. I think it's hard to say based on, cultures and races, which kids are migrating away from it, which ones are migrating towards it.
But why does a kid want? I'm talking about a male, all right? Females, you got softball, even softball. But why does a male want to play lacrosse over baseball? Why is he deciding
it's just a trend. I think it's a trend. I think first of all, I don't have a problem watching baseball. When people talk about
You think they think it's too boring?
it is, yeah. But my thing is this: if it's if it's first and second, I'm looking at who's on deck. What is this guy doing? Does he have someone in the bullpen? This guy's a ground ball pitcher. what's going on. So I'm looking at things like the cerebral way, and I'm not that smart.
How many
believe
of
me.
us are there, though? How many of us are there?
But most people, though, are
Nowadays.
bored, though. They're bored when they watch
But
it.
it's
and they're
not,
like-
yeah, that's what I'm saying, but
So
we're not.
But I think kids, though, I think it's become more of an instant gratification thing with sports, and it's kind of like, oh, this is boring. I can't watch this. And if you can't watch it, you don't want to emulate
But
it.
no, it's funny, like you know I'm a Yankee fan. But
I am.
sometimes I enjoy watching the Red Sox more than the Yankees because they keep the ball in play.
You're right,
They're
yeah.
more exciting, even though the Yankees hit homers, the Red Sox are a more exciting team than the Yankees right now. I see
Well,
myself
yeah.
watching. They're striking out left and right, the Yankees, looking for home runs. And
Oh, no,
that's
I
why-
agree with
That's
that,
why
what
they're
you're
losing
saying.
games 3-2.
I'd much rather
Yeah.
watch a game of line drives.
I mean, as somebody who was a pitcher, I'm thinking, okay, the pitcher's just thrown 2 fastballs right by the guy, and you're saying, like, please don't throw something off speed and give him a chance. He has no chance against the fastball.
Except if it's Sanchez up for the Yankees. You throw him that outside curve with 2 strikes, he goes after every time. But, I mean, that's how we look at the game. Now, the kids don't look at the game the way we look at the game. You know?
No, they're
and we
looking
don't-
at home runs and strikeouts.
I mean, and they maybe that's probably why they're playing lacrosse, because to them, it's, you're always moving. With baseball,
Yeah.
you're not. But what's a better position to play in all the sports than pitcher?
Well, yeah, of course. I mean, or you want to be shortstop of the New York Yankees. I mean, this or center field. There's certain things. But you're right, pitcher. You want to be the guy.
Even more
gunning
than the
people off.
quarterback. Really, to me.
Well, I was disappointed when I'm watching the All-Star game and I'm saying, I don't even know half these guys anymore because I don't really follow the National League that closely. So,
It's fantasy baseball. I know them. So I tend to keep an eye on a lot of things. But I'm also just a fan of the game. I like to watch like a 1-0 game, like John Smoltz against Jack Morris in that game 7 was epic. There was no action in that game, really. It was just a pitcher's duel. But if you like baseball, you can look at a game that's 9-8 the same way you can look at 1-0. And I don't think the kids of today, it's not that they don't understand it. I don't think they've been lured into it.
well, I think when it gets to the World Series, the games are so late that the kids can't watch it. I
And
mean,
that's another thing that's just, they're trying to cater to the West Coast fans now by even starting basketball games at 9:30,
But what's more artistic, right, than a baseball game? You got a runner on first base, and someone hits a gap job, right? Shot to the either left center or right center, and you got the guy at first running. You got the outfielder going after the ball, has to throw a perfect throw to the cutoff man. He's got to pivot properly, make a perfect throw to home or third base. I mean, you see that. I mean, what other sport do you see, where you have to be
know.
right on, and you got a number of players, you got runners, you got the defensive players making the play. I mean, you watch something like that, and then you watch, a real good fast runner who hits the ball in the gap and is going for 3, and you got the defensive player's got to make that play.
Well,
I mean, to me, there's nothing better in sports.
the other thing that appeals to me is you watch a baseball game, and virtually every baseball game, you'll see some play that you never see. It'll be some crazy, the batter hits the catcher's glove, or you'll see a ball hit the pitching rubber and bounce into foul territory, or could be anything. Like yesterday, Benintendi hits the ball in the gap, and the left fielder goes for it and deflects it past the center fielder out to center field. So there's some nuance that's different. Or Betts having his 13 pitch at bat, or Brandon Belt with his 22 pitch at bat, which maybe they should have cut it off at 15. I don't even know.
Well, how about Seal yesterday? He had that one guy had a 13 or 14 pitch at bat. Then he came back and had an 11 pitch at bat.
Right, he kept throwing sliders to the guy, and the guy kept fouling him off. So
So he threw 99 pitches in 6 innings, struck out 9, didn't walk a batter. Still threw 99 pitches.
Well, what's funny? You reminded me. I was in New York when it was the Mariners were playing against the Yankees, and Ken Griffey was on first, and he scored from first to knock the Yankees out. And
sure.
I was in New York City when that happened, and I'm watching it, and I knew Griffey was going to get the jump, and where that ball went, I'm going, he's not stopping at third. There's no way he's stopping at third. And sure enough, you see Griffey come barreling in, scores the run. I'm going nuts. And then I realized, I'm in New York. These people are going to kill me right now.
Well, there was a play in the game yesterday. Bogarts is on second. Devers is on first. The ball goes into the hole. It tips off the third baseman past the shortstop. Bogarts is going to score if he just runs. And he stops about 30 feet past third. So Devers keeps going because he's expecting, and then
Yeah.
Bogarts goes back so that Devers gets tagged
Yeah,
out.
exactly.
It was just like, Bogart's usually a pretty good base runner.
Yeah, and the day before, didn't he score on a big play? He scored from second or something on a ground ball, and the catcher dropped the ball. The first baseman made a terrible throw, but
It goes to show
they're
you
an
that
aggressive team, the Red Sox.
even major leaguers, though, they make those little league mistakes.
Toronto made a bunch of them. The second baseman came off second base bag, and they would have got out of the inning, and the Red Sox scored 5 runs in that inning.
Well, on replay, they've done better this year than last year, but I don't like it if the guy slides into a base and he comes half an inch off the base and they call him out. It's one
Yeah.
thing if you go off the base because you were off the base. It's another.
Surprised they haven't made that into a rule yet about it.
Well, we got Jeff here. It's
Uh-oh.
got to be something about
We have
lacrosse.
facts.
All right.
It's got to be something about lacrosse.
Participation in tackle football down 5.4%. Participation in soccer down 7.1%. Baseball down 7.2%. Basketball down 8.3%. Lacrosse up 158%. Ice hockey up 64%. Probably a lot
Where's
of that
that,
is
in
girls.
Melrose?
That's pretty interesting, though. I guess it's telling in what we were saying.
Yep.
I think it's
Is that in the country?
It's from a site called Motherly. So mothers must be dictating who's playing where.
And I always think when it comes to baseball, we had the impossible dream that actually put the Red Sox on the map. And then we had the 75 World Series. The Red Sox won 3-4, if you remember. But we all, it really it did for this area, baseball. I mean, didn't we become such a serious, passionate baseball
Well, the
town?
Bruins won the Stanley Cup in 70 and 72, and then
Bobby Orr, yeah.
they built 1 million hockey rinks,
Yeah.
which is great. I mean, kids up here
But what's
love
going to be
hockey.
the thing that's what I guess I'm saying is lacrosse has somehow, I don't know what's put it on the upswing. Maybe
It's never
just-
going to make it big.
Well, no, I don't think
It's
even
never
in
going to
20
make it
years.
big.
I don't
It's going to
think
be like soccer for the last 30 years.
Right, I don't think it's ever going to overtake any of them in that regard. But at the same time, if the kids are playing it and they're not playing these other sports, then what's going to happen? Because this can't sustain itself. This, the way these sports are going. Because if kids aren't playing it, they're the ones that become parents that decide, I'm not paying $150 a seat to take my family.
I mean, how many fans are you going to get to watch a lacrosse game? Really?
Well, it's
if it
expensive.
that aren't family.
It's going to be on ESPN.
It's expensive
9.
for youth sports for anything. I saw a proprietary volleyball program around here, and their elite program was about $3,500 a kid, and that's not counting all the travel. And no matter what they charge, even if it were, the family's traveling too. So that means the family's paying for airfare, for hotels. So it would be easy to envision you're paying $10,000, $15,000 for a sport.
And for what? What do you get out of it? That's my point.
But I think,
You know?
listen, football, to me, football, baseball, basketball, and hockey, they're more of a sport than soccer. To me, soccer, lacrosse, volleyball,
Yeah, I
they're
mean,
more. It's more of a game. The other. It's more of a game. Soccer, lacrosse.
my problem
Probably
with
we grew up, loving the other sports.
Right.
But I
people
mean-
people want to talk about baseball, and I say, you kidding me? You watch soccer, and there's like 10 minutes before there's a shot. I know there's a lot going on in there, the nuances, but at the same time, it's really just try and keep 2 guys around the ball.
Well, just for some perspective, if you want to really know what the most successful team is in team sports, you're looking at it, the All Blacks, the Silver Fern from New Zealand, the rugby team. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We haven't talked much about basketball, and probably the lead story around here from Celtics fans' perspective is the re-signing of Marcus Smart. Now, there's a line from the old movie and play Camelot that Roddy McDowell says, if charity means giving, I give it to you. And wow, the Celtics really gave it to Marcus Smart. They probably could have had him for $10 million a year, but they threw extra money his way, probably as a good faith measure to make other players say, oh, see, they're not cheaping out.
Well, one of the reasons is now if they want to
trade
make a
him.
deal, they got that contract of $13 million a year, so it'll work out with a lot of deals. But you know my feeling is what I'm worried about is that Smart's going to affect Brown and Tatum's minutes, you know. And I know Stevens loves Smart. My hope, I mean, I can't make up my mind in all the years I've been watching sports with Smart, but you got to think, if Smart can accept at times playing only 15 minutes a game, and if he can accept not being in there at the end of games, which I don't know if he can, what are you going to do? You're going to have Smart in the game, and you're going to have Tatum sitting, and you're going to have Brown sitting. What that's going to do is it's going to stunt their growth.
Well, you got to have Horford, Hayward, and Tatum out there, and Kyrie. So then it comes down to Brown versus Smart. Depends what you need, but Brown creates a matchup nightmare for almost everybody. Very few players can cover him. So, and especially when you got guys like Hayward out spreading the floor, it's going to be that much more open for Brown to take the ball to the basket.
But Stevens is going to have a problem because I know he loves Smart, he loves his defense, and he's tough, hard-nosed. But my thinking was if Smart went, if they didn't sign him, that the Celtics would adjust to that. They would adjust to having those 5 stars playing. They would adjust to having Tice coming off the bench, Rozier coming off the bench. They would have Morris coming off the bench.
Well, maybe the reality is that with so many injuries and a need for rest for guys that you almost need 6 starters.
But they're going to have a problem, Ron, if they're healthy. They're going to
Yeah.
have a problem because
Well,
what's going to sit there? You think Brown's not going to start pouting and being upset, or
Yeah.
Tatum sitting down at the end of the game?
No, I mean, and Brown, I'm not saying he's going to be Kobe Bryant or Tracy McGrady, but maybe he could be Tracy McGrady.
But I still haven't decided because sometimes I like Smart and sometimes I don't like him. But I think for the Celtics to get where they want to get, if they're healthy, they'd be better off without Smart because they
Well-
would adjust and that team would just keep blossoming.
They got exposed in the 7th game against Cleveland because the threes weren't going down, and they had nobody who could take the ball to the hoop. There's nobody that can stop Kyrie.
Tatum was taking it to the
Well,
hoop.
nobody can stop Kyrie from getting to the hoop one-on-one.
Well, that's what Stevens, when everybody tells me how great Stevens is as a coach, I like him, and the only coach I would take over him is Snyder in the NBA. So I really like him as a coach. There's no great coach in basketball. You know my feeling about Popovich. You know, he's had great players, and he's run a good offense, but he's not a great coach. He blew a championship. But you look at Stevens. How doesn't Tatum touch the ball in the last 6 minutes? After he got those 5 points in a row to put the Celtics ahead by 1. Then he touches the ball once, and we're watching him put Rozier back in the game, taking three-pointers when he
see,
wasn't hitting anything. And
I don't
Smart.
blame the coach. I blame Rozier and Smart for taking shots that are ill-advised. You
don't blame the coach not telling him to get the ball to Tatum or running a play for Tatum?
We don't know that they didn't tell him to do that. So
No, he's too much. Again, what worries me about it is he lets the reason why the Celtics, one of the reasons why they were successful last year, he just lets them go out and play. Do your thing one-on-one, not running that many plays, but running sets, but not plays off of it. And that's why they were successful, because everybody felt they were part of the team.
Well-
But in a playoff last game, not getting the ball to Tatum, their hottest player,
well, we'll see. I mean, if they'd gone up against Golden State, they would have got croaked too. Maybe they would have won a game. But, talent-wise, Golden State is so far superior. Now, I don't know what the DeMarcus Cousins signing means for Golden State or not. Obviously, they got him for short money. He's coming off of injury. Achilles tendon injury is a very serious injury with a long recovery period. And Cousins isn't the easiest guy in the world to get along with, so we'll see how.
and how's he going to be happy? He's not going to be happy on that team.
Well, you'd think that, he's going to want to put up some numbers.
Is he going to play ahead of Green?
No.
Green
absolutely
plays
not.
40 minutes a game almost.
No, so it's going to be interesting to see how the culture affects Cousins, or is Cousins really just a drain on the system in the long haul? That's going to be a tough.
Yeah, that's not like they say he averaged 25 points and 13 rebounds. Well, he's not going to average anywhere near there. And if he's scoring for Golden State, then Curry's not scoring, and Durant's not scoring if he's taking shots.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's going to hurt their team because Green didn't need to take shots. You know, Iguodala took shots when he was open. You know, so I think it's not going to be as good as people think it is.
Well, you know, we'll see. And obviously, Kawhi Leonard getting traded to Toronto makes Toronto stronger because DeRozan, for all his regular season contributions, really struggled in the playoffs. He's not happy going to San Antonio. We haven't heard too much out of Kawhi. It doesn't sound like he's really happy going to Toronto. But I mean, what's his option? He's not going to sit out and not get paid.
Who knows if he's still how healthy he is too.
Right. So.
And you're losing a big scorer in DeRozan, a big-time scorer. Leonard, even though he can score, he's a good shooter, one of the top 4, when he's healthy, one of the top 4 or 5 players in the NBA. He's not a better scorer than DeRozan is.
Well, DeRozan had a tough playoff series, and you know, he's really not a three-point shooter. He did improve, so he got to the mid-30s on percentage this year. But you know, we'll see.
How's
I mean,
Curry going to do with playing with? What's his name? The guard? What's his name? Lowry.
Oh, Lowry.
Lowry's a good shooter.
Lowry doesn't shoot the ball excessively. When I went to the Celtics practice when they were going to play Toronto, they had a lot of special defense they were putting in to try to stop Lowry coming off screens to keep him from getting three-pointers. So, you know, the NBA is, well, you know, all this talk about no longer having one and done and bringing kids out of high school to play in the NBA. You're going to have the rare player like LeBron who can contribute right away. But most of these kids come out of high school, they have no clue when they go to the NBA.
It's going to be interesting, the draft, though. You know,
Oh,
some
yeah.
teams may pass on a talented player. You know, you may have a team picking 7th that takes a kid coming out of high school that has a lot of talent, and that may be the best pick in the draft. So it's going to
Right.
be very interesting.
You know, a lot of players, like I always bring up Tracy McGrady, it took them about three full seasons before they got good enough that they became Tracy McGrady. So as we were just talking about Robert Williams, the Celtics got him at 27, I think it was 27, and nobody's expecting him to do anything this year. He's got some health issues with this popliteal artery compression so that he gets poor circulation in the bottom of his legs, but he's not going to play enough minutes that's going to be a big problem.
No, I mean, there's no pressure that he makes the Celtics. He'll probably play up and down. When someone gets hurt, he'll probably dress. And he's talented.
Now,
I mean, there's no one who can do what he does on the team.
Well, right. The things that he can do is you can lob it into him for the jam. And if you watched any of Summer League, the little time he played, he can just sky over people and get
Shot
rebounds.
blocker. He's
Right.
a good shot blocker.
So in limited minutes, he's going to be able to do something if he's healthy. But there's no big expectation for him. Also in Summer League, we saw that Jabari Bird was pretty good.
I like Bird a lot.
Yeah, defensively he's decent, but he's a real good cutter. He seems to have a good sense for the game.
It looks like they may lose him, though. Someone's going to give him a permanent contract.
Well, I think they will. Cause he's restricted, so they can match it, and nobody's going to give him $6 million or anything.
I mean, they like, what's his name?
Ojeleye,
No, well, Ojale's going to make the team because of his defense.
Wanamaker.
Urbaselli, whatever his name is, the French guy. What's his name? Urbaselli? The 6'9".
Yabusele.
Yabusele. They like him, but I mean, I think it's time to just forget about him.
Well, he's got guaranteed $3.1 million this year.
Is this his last year on the guaranteed?
I think so. So I'm not expecting he's going to see too much time. He's really not big enough to play the 5, and the stretch 4. He really hasn't proven that he can make shots yet.
They like him, and they said he did what they asked him to do in the summer league, but I don't think he's ever going to get playing time on that team unless there's a lot of injuries.
The sleeper player that probably go overseas, who I thought did a good job for them, was Hassan Martin, the kid from URI.
He's too small though, isn't he?
Yeah, he's kind of like
6'7".
Who was the kid they had? Brandon. What was the kid's name? Anyway, he's just undersized, 6'7.5", something like that. He's a bulky guy, but he's not an outside shooter. So we'll see. The Celtics injured star Gordon Hayward was on Instagram, and they showed him making step backs and hesitation moves. He hit 19 in a row on threes, which, uncontested threes. But, he looks like he's moving well, at least. That's what matters.
Well, they're going to love playing with him because he could care less how much he scores, even though he's a 22-point, scorer. With the Celtics, he won't score that much, but he's a great team player in the half court, smart player. He's going to work perfect with those young guys. And Kyrie loves him.
I don't know if you saw the gender reveal that happened at his house. His wife's expecting a third child. He didn't look so happy to see was it a pink balloon or pink something came out of the box. I think he was hoping for a son.
Was that his third daughter?
Yeah. So anyway, but he'll probably have very athletic daughters, and I'm sure they'll probably play golf so they don't get hurt.
Golf and tennis.
Right. Let's see. The Celtics have one roster spot remaining. Now the question is whether it'll go to Bird, I think Yabusele's spot doesn't get guaranteed till later this year, so they could still cut him. Abdel Nader got cut, and he didn't do anything last year. I was disappointed. I thought he was going to be able to contribute something, and he didn't have it.
Now Morris, you think they're going to trade Morris?
I think it would be better if they could trade Morris, because I think Morris is not going to be happy with the limited minutes.
Same thing with the way it should go with Smart. Smart and Rozier shouldn't be getting big minutes anymore. Not with that starting lineup.
Well, they've really got. Well, the Celtics divided among guards, wings, and bigs. And I presume there's a log jam at the wings because Hayward, Brown, Tatum, there's for two spots you got three guys.
Not in this day and age, though. You got Brown, who's the two guys.
Right.
So Brown's basically not a wing. The two is a wing player too, I guess. But the 3 and the 4 are going to be Tatum and Hayward. They're going to start at the 3 and the 4.
Right. The silver lining, whether we want to call it that or not, was that Tatum and Brown got tremendous development last year, and I think they both scored over 18 points a game in the playoffs. So they were really terrific in the playoffs. They got to play in crunch time against solid talent, and they know what it's like to have to fight through a whole playoff series.
Look at their bench now, though, Ron. You got Rozier and Smart at guard. You've got Morris coming in with Tyson Baines. You got, what's his name? Ojale.
Wanamaker.
Yeah, you have Ojale.
Right.
Coming in for defense. So they're covered. Their first 12 players, they can dress 13 now, I heard.
Oh, really?
So if they can dress 13, there's the 13, that kid for Wanamaker.
Well, it should help when they have the back-to-backs and 3 games in 5 nights, that sort of stuff, so that they have so much depth, assuming that people can stay healthy. Obviously last year we found out that they couldn't.
But you should always have Kyrie or Hayward in the game at all times. So take one of them out, keep the other one in, and then when the other one has to come out, bring that guy back in, because they're both leaders.
Now we hear that Isaiah Thomas went to Danny Ainge and said he'd be willing to come back. Obviously, Danny wasn't going to pull the trigger on that.
No, he wouldn't fit that team now. Now with Kyrie and Brown, Eric God, and you got Smart and Rozier, what are you going to do with him?
Yeah,
he just doesn't fit that team now.
And he's going to want to play a certain amount of minutes to try to reestablish his value. Denver's a good team for him to try to reestablish. And he signed for the veteran minimum of $2 million, which I know we talked about $2 million like a chicken feed, but it's pretty good money for the rest of the world.
Well, if he has a big year, then he'll make some money the next year.
Right.
Look at Rondo's making $9 million. He made 10 and then 9.
Yeah, do you want to coach the Lakers?
I know.
You got
What are they thinking about?
You got Lance Stevenson, you got Rondo, LeBron.
All you hear about is how smart Magic Johnson is, how he's going to turn the team around. But I don't hear any of these people that are big supporters of Magic talking about bringing Rondo in with Ball, and you got James.
Yeah.
I mean, are you kidding me?
Yeah, the term that's used is ball dominant. That means they have to have the ball in their hand. The other term you hear is usage ratio, how much of the time the player has the ball. So you got all these players with really high usage ratios. It can't work. It just can't work.
I mean, Rondo, Kyrie, if he plays the way he should, would be great with this group. Rondo would be great with this group. Imagine him the point guard of the Celtics. And you got all those scorers on your team. They're going to get the ball every time they have. If they're open, they're getting the ball. It's as simple as that. And they're not missing them. Kyrie's going to be taking a crazy three-pointer.
The problem is you got to deal with Rondo's petulance. He's supposedly a brilliant guy. They give him a playbook, and he can memorize the playbook of 100 pages overnight. Supposedly the other team will call a play, and he'll say, "No, you're supposed to be in the corner. What are you doing?"
But you know the thing with Kyrie? I think Kyrie's leaving unless the Celtics go into the finals and either win it or have a great finals against Golden State or Houston.
Well, obviously, Kyrie's got a lot of other interests. Uncle Drew, his burgeoning movie career, and if he goes to New York, his public relations opportunities may be even higher. And then, has he agreed to play with Jimmy Butler in New York? Nobody knows, and we're going to spend the whole year talking about whether Kyrie's staying or going.
Well, he is weird. That's number one. He's weird. He's a weird guy. Now, one time he calls Tatum 2 years ago, says, let's match, not Tatum, Hayward, let's match up and go to a team. Called him, I think 2 years ago. Now he wants to play, the rumors that he wants to play with Butler now. He's got, not only does he have Hayward now, he's got Tatum and Brown, Horford and the other guys, and he might be thinking, hey, I'm not the big star here, but we're counting on other players. I want to go to the team where I'm the star. And they're not going to want him taking 23 shots a game with that group.
Yeah, if you think about Stockton and Malone or Steve Nash, I never felt like because a guy got a lot more assists and still got a reasonable amount of points that he wasn't a star. So I don't equate shoot first point guards as being a star versus getting everyone else involved.
And I think there's a chance, I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen, there's a chance that Tatum and Brown are not going to like playing with Kyrie. There's a chance because they're not going to be getting the ball when they're hot and feeling good. Kyrie's going to be controlling the ball. And then when Rozier comes in the game, all he's thinking about is scoring until he doesn't have a shot, then he passes. So he's not a true point guard. So the one guy who will pass to them is Smart. If he's not taking he'll look more than those two guys.
That's a really interesting point. So it's easy to understand why the Celtics felt they had to re-sign Smart, not only from a team culture standpoint, from a team toughness standpoint, but they need some additional security if Kyrie leaves, and that's another reason why Rozier is still going to get additional development minutes and hopefully get more assists. He had some triple doubles. He had some games when he had high assists, but he, as you say, he's a shoot first point guard.
Like last year, I don't know if you remember, but the people in work I used to tell all the time early in the year, I said, I don't like Kyrie. I don't like Kyrie playing with Brown and Tatum because they don't see the ball. They got to stand in the corner and watch Kyrie and Horford do pick and rolls all day, and Kyrie's taking the shots at the end of the game. Tatum could be on, Brown could be on, and then they're just not consistently getting the ball. So now this year, where Tatum's feeling great after last year, the playoffs, and Brown's feeling great, and they're going to go in there, is Kyrie going to be the true point guard? I don't think he's going to accept that.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Last year, off the pick and roll, a lot of times Horford would roll, get the ball, and then pitch to the corner to Brown or Tatum.
Yeah, and they would hit the three. Tatum was hot early in the year.
Right. So we'll see it. I'm sure that the Celtics staff is reviewing thousands of offensive plays from the year and figuring out what kind of offense is going to work for them. I've enjoyed being with you tonight. I'm Ron Sen.
And I'm Ralph Labella, and thank you for watching Let's Talk Sports.